Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hey, I'm going to say welcome back to
Thank
the
you.
podcast.
Yeah.
No one ever gets to say that to you, right? You never get to hear that.
No. Likewise. It has been way too long. I think we've been away for about a month and a half, 2 months. We've been trying to record shows.
Yeah, here and there, yeah.
It's just been like I was on vacation, then all of a sudden you were on vacation, and then I went away again, and then it just wasn't really happening. But we had a lot of backed up content anyway, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, welcome back everybody to the Brave Podcast. My name is Angelo, aka Exploring with Angelo, here on YouTube. Normally you'll find me out there hunting ghosts, going to strange places, abandoned places, stuff like that. Here we have my co-host Moshi.
Hi, so happy to see you again.
So you officially changed your name on YouTube to just Moshi.
Yeah,
right?
so my name was Moshi Yo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why. I thought that was a good idea. I always said Yo, I guess, when I was younger. Yo was the thing. And so I just kind of made that a part of my identity. So I just changed it to Moshi. Like it was obvious that it was too complicated and hard to find. And now it's more hard to find because there's plenty of Moshis on YouTube. Oh, there's a lot.
I would not know that.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize.
I think the biggest one is called Moshi Kids or something like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'm Moshi on YouTube. I'm Moshi Yo on Instagram and Twitter or X and all
Moshi
the other
Yo
stuff.
Tweets on X, I think, right?
Moshi Yo tweets on X, and then I've got other links and I don't remember what they are right now. It's been a while. I'm not in practice here, but I do want to just say to you guys really quick that, hey, we are doing a podcast, and this podcast is in video form on YouTube. It's also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you'll also be able to find us if we get a little spicy later. We'll be able to find us on Rumble. I see. I'm totally out of practice. Oh my god,
we're out of season. We're a little rusty right now, but it's okay.
Yeah, there's another app you can check us out on. It's called Rumble, and that's where we talk.
The videos
dirty
are there
to
too.
Each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the extra dirty stuff, really, if you want to know, is on OnlyFans. But you got to pay a little bit of an extra fee for that stuff. But for tonight, we actually have a guest.
Yes.
It's going to be a little bit of a different guest. I'm sure she's going to have a lot to say. But yeah, here she is.
Whoa.
So so I may or may not have bought a haunted doll. We don't know her name yet. So interestingly enough, earlier today I went to an antique store because I was looking for a couple of items maybe that we could add to the studio to kind of, decorate, because there's a couple of few items that I found at this one specific location that I've been going to, and that's where there's like a bat cave metal thingy that I showed you over there, couple of other things around the room as well. And I was on the second floor and I was just walking, like eyeing this doll, and the doll is eyeing me, as you can see. And
our podcast guest tonight.
Oh my god.
Please state your name for the record.
But so I'm walking through and I just see this doll, and I'm just like, I don't know what it is, but there's something up with this doll. I just felt it. Like I could see her peering into my soul, right? And the look on your face right now is hilarious.
All I can think about is the Annabelle doll. It's like
yes. Okay. So speaking of the Annabelle doll, I actually saw the real one not too long ago.
Is it at the actual house?
So it's in a museum, which used to be Ed and Lorraine Warren's house, but we'll get into all that in a second. So a little bit about this doll in this store. So I grabbed the doll. First, I took a picture of it and I sent it to my friend, Latriana Brown. And she is a very, very good psychic medium. She was actually on a TV show, the one with Mo. And I've actually done some work with her before, and she's like spot on, and she can basically do like readings and kind of pick up on things just through photos. So I sent it to her first, as well as a couple other people. Haven't heard back from everybody as of yet. But I'm like, look at this doll. Is it haunted? LOL. And she says, yes. Hang on. Let me pull up the text message to her.
Damn it.
Yeah. So
you brought it and you put it in my seat.
I thought about that after.
No ill will towards you, doll. Doll face. No.
But yeah, so basically I sent her a text. Where is it? With a picture of the doll, and I said, "Is she haunted? LOL." And she goes, "Yes, I want her. Are we still on for Charleston?" Which was just a completely side note. And then she goes, "By the way, the doll has a partial soul in it. I have no idea what that even means."
Come on, man.
But I just knew it. I knew something was up with this doll. So a little bit of background on it, because as I grabbed it and brought it to the owner of the store, who was kind of like, because the other reason why I went there was I wanted to ask them if the place was haunted, right? And see maybe if I can potentially film something there. And he's like, "Oh yeah, the place is definitely haunted, mostly on the second floor." So basically what it used to be is it was a giant barn, and originally they only used the first floor. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to like an antique shop before, but a lot of the times the way they operate is they sell other dealers' items. So you might have like a handful of inventory at the time.
Yeah.
You bring it to this antique dealer, they'll set up a little corner for you, and then they'll sell it for you.
On
and
consignment.
then, yeah, on consignment essentially. So originally the second floor was never used before. It had been empty for many, many years. He was telling me that he's had some stuff happen there quite a few times. Things like plates literally flying off a table across the room, smashing. There was another time where his brother, who was a skeptic, basically was arguing with him. So basically what had happened was he closed that night, turned off all the lights, as he does every single night. And the next morning they went up and all of the lights were on the second floor. This was after they had expanded and done the renovations upstairs to hold more of their inventory.
Right.
So they're like arguing back and forth, and he's like, "No, I know for a fact that I never left the lights on, so I got no idea." So we do know the building is haunted and whatnot, but the actual doll itself is approximately 100 years old and apparently originally from England. And he knew that because his mom actually had the same kind of doll.
Stop.
Yeah. So, which obviously there's probably not a lot of them kind of lingering around, but we have no idea what her name is yet. I have not done any sort of investigation, but it's just weird.
You put my headphones on her too, man. I'm just realizing now. Damn.
Oh my God.
No offense.
No offense. No offense. But
You're welcome here.
absolutely. But do you want to tell us your name, or do you have anything you want to tell us at all? It was worth a try.
Yeah,
so I left the mic on purposely because if she does decide to speak, maybe something will come through. I got no idea.
I'm staring at this thing and I'm just like, my mind's playing tricks on me. I feel like the headphones are moving and like, so, yeah, welcome back.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, when I was trying to set it up, because I put like a box underneath her, it kind of like the headphones kind of like shifted at one point, and I'm just like dying of laughter, taking pics and sending it to people like, "Oh, this is the guest on the show tonight." I just thought it was funny, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll do a little bit of an experimentation with her and some future videos, and I don't know, we'll see what happens. Cool. Maybe I'll bring her to a haunted spot, but I am definitely going to leave her here. So I kind of have the idea that I want to go around collecting like haunted objects, and there's no way in hell I'm bringing them home.
Sure. Yeah. Smart.
Yeah. Also, the other night, I'm pretty sure my house is already haunted. I'm haunted myself. Anyway,
you were saying that day.
The other night, I went out and I was out in a forest, whatever, did some randonautica, and then I investigated because reportedly there have been skinwalkers in this one area. So I'm out there, did a little bit of investigation, freezing cold, and I come home and I start editing. And I'm hearing like these weird, like, you know where my desk is, right? So like across the room, I could hear, it sounded like something was literally hitting the table across the room. And I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, hello? Like I didn't know if somebody was coming downstairs, but everybody was already asleep. There was nothing, like no movement, no activity. So I get up, I'm looking, I'm like, nobody's moving around, nothing. There's nothing there. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But yeah, apart from that, I also went to Fantasma Con, which was a lot of fun.
That was this past weekend, I think?
Yeah. So basically it was the 27th and the 28th of October. There's probably going to be, I think this is the second year they've done it, I think. I don't know. So it's hosted by the Ed and Lorraine Warren Museum. And basically, I wasn't personally invited by them. It was Jazz and Omar Gosh who were invited. So Omar Gosh, Jazz were invited. Omar got a table. and Jazz is like, yo, you should come to Fantasma Con. I don't really know what's going to go on there, but just come and we'll like get wasted the whole time because it's in a casino, right?
Oh,
So it's
okay.
like in the expo area, convention area of a casino. So I'm like, all right, that sounds like fun. I'll just come and hang out and whatever.
That was New York?
No, Connecticut. Yeah, so it was at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So there was a whole bunch of creators, which was really cool because I got to meet a whole bunch of people I had never seen before in person.
Nice.
Like Haley Reese, who's a fellow Canadian, as well as Kalani Ghost Hunter. Obviously, I've met Omar before in person, Jazz, obviously, many times. Exploring Josh was there, Seth, his brother, and I do know the other, there was a couple other guys, other YouTubers who were there, but I didn't get to see them because we were so busy at our table, which we didn't expect it to be like this, but there was literally an endless lineup of people.
That's
like
awesome.
mostly they're
That's so
obviously for
cool.
Omar, but a lot of them knew who we were too. So they would come in, they're, you know, getting, I've never signed an autograph in my entire life. This was the first time that I had to sign 200 of them.
That's
one
awesome.
after the
That's
other.
so cool.
People were like asking us to sign their shoes and their shirt. And some people like weren't really prepared. They didn't know that we were going to even be there.
Sign my hand.
Yeah.
Sign my boob.
I saw Seth autograph somebody's boob,
Yeah.
like legit. I don't know what they're gonna do with that afterwards, but whatever. I guess it's all in good fun. And yeah, there was people who had like dollar bills. Somebody actually gave us, I don't remember their name, but they had a booth there. They make a bunch of really cool wooden art type of things, and they gave Jazz and I Ouija boards that actually light up. Like they're custom made Ouija boards. I was gonna bring it and I had it on the table. I meant to grab it and I grabbed all the other stuff and completely forgot it, but I'll probably bring it for the next show.
Nice.
But it's super cool. Like you plug it into like a USB like power source, and it literally, you have a remote control and it kind of goes with like the surrounding noises. So if there's like music or something, like the Ouija board will literally start flashing to the music.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it was one really, really cool event. The first night was like a VIP thing.
Meaning fans weren't there?
So there were fans, but it was like an extra thing.
They paid to be VIPs.
Right,
Okay, yeah.
right. So it was like a VIP event. They had like a little mini bar, and it was basically there was like a magic show or whatever. It was a little bit more intimate because the crowd was significantly smaller. There were still like fans that were there, which was really cool. Funny enough, there was a lady who was from well, she works for Toronto District School Board. Her name was Jackie. Really cool meeting her. And there was another lady who was from Pennsylvania. She was really cool. We all were just kind of hanging out for the entire night, you know, just drinking, whatever, because they gave us a couple of free drinks per person. Right. So, and it was funny too, because Jazz was like, oh, we're going to go and film a video after this, because there's like an abandoned psychiatric center that's nearby. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. You're already going to have too many cranberry and vodkas, and you're going to be, you know, poop-faced within the next hour. There's no way we're going to go and film. But okay, if you want to believe that you're going to go and film, by all means, whatever. Let me tell you, by the time we got to the pizzeria, Jazz is just sitting there like this. I'm like, you probably need some water, dude. You got to like sober yourself up. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Who's this one?
That is, oh yeah, that was, her name is Pam. She emailed me the photo. So she said that she's our YouTube mom. So she was the, you gotta go this, this
your
way.
camera
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
boy, the focus is gonna be great. Hold on, it's gonna work.
There
it's
it
gonna
is.
Work.
It might be hard because it's focusing on me.
Okay, well you'll have to check out Ange Bona TV on Instagram to see.
Yeah. So if you go on Instagram, there's a photo with me and our YouTube mom. She came like running up to us and she was super happy to meet us. It was really awesome. It was very, very humbling and very motivating because we had a lot of people tell us a lot of, you know, their stories, what they enjoy seeing that we do on YouTube. And there's obviously some people who are disabled and can't really get out there and they can't do what we're able to do. So they kind of live almost vicariously through us, right? Which is really cool. It was just, it was actually very motivating because people don't realize how like it's hard to do what we do, the amount of travel time. And I mean, you guys probably hear us say it all the time, but it's true. Like we're not, you know, lying about that. It's a lot of work. Yeah. Right. So, a
lot of sleepless nights on your end.
Yeah. Exactly.
I get messages from you any time of night. any time of day.
Oh yeah. I'm always doing something. I always have to be doing something. There's very little downtime for me. But personally, that's just because I like to be productive. I don't have to work as hard as I do. It's more of just a choice, realistically. But yeah, is what it is. It was cool. It was very cool connecting with other creators. Meeting Haley for the very first time, because it's funny enough, I used to...
Is Haley a creator as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's from near Toronto, and she was there with her boyfriend Tyler, who, funny enough, is related to Shawn Mendes and Danny Fernandez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
That's so cool.
So, yeah, they were a lot of fun. I met them the first night. And then we got to see like all the objects in the museum, which included the real Annabelle doll in like in the case or whatever, and then they had the one that was from the movie, which they obviously made look really, really creepy. Because the original one's just like it's an old Raggedy Ann doll. I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look right now.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Some of the other stuff that was there was really creepy as well. But there were some things that happened that night that were crazy. So I was just kind of like lingering around. We're just, walking, talking to people, looking at all the cool objects and learning about the history. There was one girl that was there. Her name was Lily, and she's disabled. She was born with a quarter of a brain.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was in the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and her one thing that she wanted to do was to go to the Warrens Museum. Wow. And she got to go for the very first time when she was, I believe, 8 years old, is what they said. So I got to meet her, and she's like super into all the YouTubers. She watches everybody's videos, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was a really kind of surreal experience there as well.
Wow.
And what was interesting too was that she learned how to speak by watching YouTube videos. Oh, right. So yeah, so she would like learn, the way people would gesture and speak and all that cool stuff. A little after that, one crazy thing happened. I was walking around, and then Omar kind of like turns to me. He's like, "Yo, you gotta see this." So he was talking to this girl who was there, and she started talking about some young girl, I guess some haunted story or whatever, telling Omar directly about this. As she's telling the story, Omar's looking at her, and 3 scratches are appearing on her neck as he's talking to her. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, you can still see them, kind of. Look. So I look at her neck. I'm like, whoa, they're literally still there. Yeah, like I didn't really have anything personally happen. I do know that when Jazz went to the Warren Museum and filmed there, 2 days after, so they do say that if you have some sort of interaction sometimes with Annabelle, weird stuff will happen, right? Because it's like cursed and whatnot. 2 days after Jazz went to go see the Annabelle doll, he got into a car accident. He was at a stoplight, and he got rear-ended by a drunk driver. It was him and Ben. Wow. Then they had a rental car, and I think about less than a week later, they hit a deer and totaled the rental car. And then after that, he's like, I give up, like no more cars for now until my car is ready out of the shop. So it's just like, was it a coincidence, or was it related to the Annabelle doll?
Residual haunting.
Right?
Yeah.
Like what the hell is going on here? But yeah, so that was kind of that. There was another lady, I don't know specifically what happened, but I do recall she was sitting on a chair afterwards, and there was a bunch of like paramedics and stuff kind of like helping her out. So I don't know if she like fainted or she fell, or I have no idea.
Sorry, that was at the con.
That was at the con. I don't know what exactly happened to her, but that's just what I saw. And then after the day later, or the day after, was the actual convention. So they had it set up with like a bunch of booths. There was vendors, there was creators, there was actors, like one of the actors from Children of the Corn.
Wow.
There was another actress. I did not see her, but I was told she was there. She was the original actress who played the newer ones. So if you look, I never knew this. I didn't know that there was 2 actors, because it's Carl
in the new movie?
In the new one, yeah.
The Skarsgård?
Skarsgård, yeah.
So it's okay. Tell me.
So there's she actually played a couple of the scenes in the first movie and then the sequel as well. Because I guess they filmed like different parts in different times or whatever, right? So she was actually the original It in the sewer with the blue eyes. And that's how you notice the difference, because she has blue eyes. When it was Carl, it was yellow eyes. So she was the one when Georgie comes up to the sewer and he pops up. He's, hiya, Georgie.
Yeah.
Right? That creepy sewer clown, right? Yeah. So she was there. And then there was obviously all the content creators as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Cool. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then you could, if you had like the VIP thing, you can go like around the back and see all the haunted objects and from the museum and whatnot. And other people were kind of complaining that like their phones weren't working properly. Like everything was fine up until they got there, and then they went and took a bunch of pictures of the haunted objects, and all of a sudden their phones are not working anymore. Of course. Right? And it was just like, this is super weird, right? Like, what's going on?
There's a whole bunch of people who have been around too many haunted things all in one concentrated area.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you're on that side of it. Like, you know that I've gone to Fan Expo and Toronto Comic Con and all that stuff like a bunch, like a lot. On the weekend, on Saturday, we went to the Toronto Video Game Expo as well. So just being a normal fan going around these things, I'm used to that. But the idea of being on the other side of it, people coming up to you and asking you for autographs, that's so cool. Yeah. That's so neat.
Yeah, it was actually really cool, because it was like my first time ever doing anything like that, right? I think for all of us, it was pretty much our first time, let alone having that many people there. And we were completely unprepared, because we basically just showed up. We just had this big empty table of nothing, brought nothing with us, right? So then we're like scrambling. We're like, damn, we got to get like markers. So somebody ran out, bought some markers so we can actually sign stuff properly. And we took like hundreds of photos with people, and it was just awesome. I just like meeting like the people behind the screen sort of thing, right? And believe it or not, there was actually 3 guys there from Brampton. Oh, stop. I kid you not. And they were the coolest guys ever, because I saw them after the event. There was a whole bunch of us that went to go hang out in the casino. There was me, Omar, Tiffany, Josh, Seth, Haley, and Chase. We all just hung out. Jazz had to leave early because his dog was sick, so he had to run back home. But yeah, apart from that, we were just kind of like chilling out in the casino area, and a bunch of people still kept coming up to us. And it was kind of funny because the 3 guys from Brampton showed up. I'm like, yo, what's up, Brampton? Worst drivers ever. But yeah, they were really, really nice. I think what is their name on YouTube?
Are they like a group of creators as well?
Yeah, so I think they have like, I subscribe to them. I think they have like 10,000 subs or something like that. Nice. It was like Drunk Ghost Explorers or something like that. So I guess the premise is, they're like, yeah, we made this new thing that we get drunk and go to haunted places and look for ghosts, right? I'm like, what do you mean? I do that all the time. Like every time I do a ghost hunt, for the most part, I usually drink if it's like a location that I'm allowed to, right? So but yeah, they were really cool. One of them's sister, I think, was a really big fan of Haley. Oh. So we were trying to video call, and as the girl answered the phone, Haley's like holding the phone, right?
That's crazy.
So she wasn't expecting that, right? She thought it was going to be her brother or boyfriend or whoever the guy was, right? So that was like super funny to do something like that. Yeah, and then I just left and drove straight home, 8.5 hours. That was fun. Dang. Got home at 7:30 in the morning and went to sleep until like 3, and then got up and went and filmed the video after that. Yeah. So how's life been over here in Canada for you? Well, you actually went on a trip too. Yeah. You went to Mexico. How was that?
Yeah, my wife and I went to Mexico. It was my first time being in Mexico. It was her second, I believe. Second or third, I think it was the second. Yeah, I loved it. We were there for 5 days. It was really, the day we arrived was my wife's birthday, so we were trying to figure out what are we gonna do. And then she's been, since before COVID, she's had because of that, she's had the itch to just go somewhere, go to a beach somewhere. And that's what we ended up doing. And we actually left the baby with the grandparents for 5 days, and that was fun. That was hard at first, but really good. It's really good to know that she's okay with being away from at least my wife. She doesn't even
she's
know
okay with
when I'm
being
around.
ditched, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, ditched the baby and went to go and party in Mexico.
Yeah. It was cool, man. I got the absolute worst sunburn of my life.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was just like the cold water was burning my skin essentially. Ooh, yeah, it was great.
Wait, the water was cold?
It was not hot.
Oh, okay.
I just mean like, it was warm.
Oh yeah, because I guess because it's the Gulf, right? So the Gulf is probably not as hot, I guess.
Yes, I guess.
Well, this time of year, I suppose. I don't know.
And it was, I don't mean it was cold, right? It was like mid-September. We saw a sea turtle in the water, which was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we didn't get too close to it, unfortunately, but it's funny. I have a story actually. We it was, I think, the day before the last day, and she's like, "We're gonna see some turtles." Nice. So we went to the buffet in the morning for breakfast.
Because it was Mayan Riviera, right?
Yeah,
yeah. I've seen a sea turtle too in the Mayan, so right. Yeah, it makes sense.
We're going to the buffet. She starts taking some fruits and stuff. She's like, "We're gonna see some turtles today."
Oh hell yeah.
She puts it in the bag. Like, we're gonna take this to the beach and we're gonna see some turtles today. And
is that what they eat? They eat fruit
for the
most part.
I don't know. I think
just kind of did it on a whim.
I think she was like, turtles love lettuce, I guess.
I guess. Is that like a thing? Do turtles actually like lettuce?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Comment below if you know. So the first thing, so anyway, we go into the water later on and we rented scuba gear to be able to go under the water to see where they are, to see clearly, and the weather was terrible that day. It turned out horrible. But whatever, takes the fruit into the water. We're going out there and
probably had like hundreds of fish.
Tosses the first thing and a fish jumps out of the water and catches it.
Oh wow.
It was the coolest. It was a small
awesome.
fish, sure, but it was really cool. It was really nice. And then nothing. And then for a little further away from us, one guy sees one. It pops its head out in front of us.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was really nice. That was the second last day or something. Then we go back. I don't know. It was a nice time. We went to see the Chichen Itza pyramid.
Right.
That was about a day. It was good. It was good to relax. Try to sleep as much as possible because you don't get to do that with a baby at home, And then so the next day we're flying back and everything's cool and coming back into the Toronto airport. You've traveled with me before, driving. You've traveled with me before.
Yeah.
My full Muslim name is on all travel documents. Right.
Did they stop you?
Oh, they stopped me. And both of us. So coming back in, now the customs, they do it digitally. You can choose to do it digitally. So you just declare whatever, and it's just a piece of paper they print. You walk over to the person, and then they look at you, they look at the paper, and they say, go this way, whatever. So they they looked at my paper, looked at me, it's like, go to this line. And with both my wife and me, right? And we were in the line for a few minutes, kind of like my wife's getting upset, right? Because she's she not an obvious name like I have that could like raise flags for whatever reason. Sounds like a terrorist or whatever. She's getting upset. She's like, why us, why this? And I'm looking around and the entire line is brown people. Just FYI.
To be fair,
yes,
a lot of people in Toronto, Brampton, Mississauga are brown people.
Yes.
So.
To be fair. Yes. Toronto Airport, you'll see a lot of people that look like me. However, I'm not at all biased. I'm not. But what I was noticing is that all the white people are going that way. That's all I'm saying. No, to be whatever. I personally, it didn't bother me at all because I'm used to it. Like I was saying, like, we've traveled before. We went through the U.S. border and they searched the car. You remember that?
When we went
with Moose, we were going to, I think, Chicago.
Okay.
Do you remember? They stopped in the Jimmy.
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
They searched the whole Jimmy, dude.
Did they? Oh yeah, because they took us out and they didn't like really. So there was one trip we did and I don't think they stopped us at all. They're just like
New York.
So New York they didn't stop us.
There was 5 of us. Yeah. And then it was just you, me, and Moose going to Chicago, and they did. Yeah. Anyway, irrelevant.
It's honestly kind of random at this point. Yeah. Because I've had some weird issues at the border too. One was arguing with them about going to film videos because they're like, oh, you're working illegally. I'm like, filming a video is not illegal. It's the editing and whatever. Yeah. And then the second time was, this one was really funny because I told him I had 2 cartons of cigarettes, and apparently you're only allowed 1, so they have to like charge you the taxes. And I'm like, why would you? And the guy was just like, he was just being a dick, right? I guess he was just having a bad day, and I'm just like, he's like, oh, anything to declare? And I'm like, I got 2 cartons of cigarettes, but they're for personal use. And he's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right? I'm like, that means they're for me. I'm not selling them. I'm just telling you this, right? But what that mean? What that mean? Right? And he's like, I see he's filling out his orange form or whatever. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna have to go to secondary or whatever. I'm like, oh, like for what? He's like, you have to pay the taxes, right? I'm like, how much is it? He's like, oh, $10 each. So I had to stop to pay like $20. I'm like, what a waste of time, right? Because then I got to the secondary, and the dude was like super nice to me. Of
course.
He calls me up and he's like, Ange, right? I'm like, do I know this guy? Like, he's literally talking to me like he knows me, right? And he's like, oh, what are you coming in for? Like, coming into the country for? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to a haunted place, going to film a video, whatever. He's like, really? He's like, I've seen some things. And then he starts telling me the whole story. I'm like, bro, like, I gotta go, man. I got places to be, right? Like, I don't really have time for this. But yeah, sometimes it's like, it could be totally random. You could just get some guy who's just an asshole. Yeah. Realistically, I've had it happen so many freaking times.
Yeah, you travel a lot too.
Yeah, even with the COVID stuff. But yeah, go on.
There's a reason why I didn't think that it was random this time. So anyway, we went to secondary and just normal questions, didn't say anything, didn't care. Went through again. Okay. So you're walking through after secondary, and there's 2 lines, not 2 lines. There's 2 gates.
Yeah.
And they opened up a second gate. We were the first ones through, and they look at my paper and they're like, you two down the hall.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the hell?
Okay, and I was like,
did they send you to the Muhammad section or something?
Oh yeah. Oh, and so
this is so ridiculous.
And now she's getting more upset, and now I'm getting upset, and I was just like, this is really stupid. This is really annoying. And I'm like, this is gonna take forever. We get into this line, and she's just thinking like, what is it? Why is it? She has a friend who used to be CBSA, so the Canadian border, and she's messaging her like, what is it?
Is it like some protocol or something, right? Like, is there a protocol? Like, I get it.
I was telling her, right? And I was like, this is normal for me. Even when I flew, for me.
I know.
And I was telling her, I'm like, even when I flew, I like, even when I flew to Montreal, they were searching me. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, dude, this is not an international flight. Anyway, the point is, I'm used to it. To me, whatever, annoyance, not a big deal. Arrive at the airport earlier. That's essentially the way I look at it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, so we're waiting in line to see the person who's going to check our bags. And all of a sudden she's like, and she looks at me. She's like, the bananas.
The bananas? Wait, what? Wait, you guys had bananas in your...
For the turtles.
Oh, and you forgot they were in there.
We had a beach bag. I completely forgot. So she put the fruits in the beach bag for the turtles. Hilarious. We didn't finish them. God. And she's like, it's the fucking bananas. And I'm like, my God.
So in reality, it had nothing to do with you.
We are international fruit smugglers right now. And she's like, oh my God. And she's getting mad at me for forgetting the goddamn bananas in the bag. And I'm like, God. I don't remember. What am I supposed to do? Like, there's no smell. She's like, the dog sniffed our bags. Yeah, that's why our bags came first down the damn thing. Yeah. We get up to the guy.
Yeah.
And we're just like, we're not saying anything, like, whatever. And he's like, where did you go? Where do you live? Where are you going? Whatever. Who's picking you up from the airport? All this stuff. And it's just normal. We're just answering questions. And then he's like, did you bring anything back? And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I forgot. It was for the turtles.
That's hilarious.
And he didn't care at all. He was just like, oh, okay, a banana. All right, whatever. And then he starts questioning, like, he's like, where'd you say you live again? So he's asking the same questions over again. Mm-hmm. Where do you work? Where'd you go? All the same, like.
Yeah, they're trying to see if you made something up. So that way you'd say the wrong answer, right? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then there's 2 guys at this whatever booth. And he's like, but he said Toronto. He's not from Etobicoke. Because we're not from Etobicoke, but that's who. So they're looking for a guy with the same name who lives in Etobicoke.
Oh, so they're actually
They're
looking
for
somebody.
someone specific.
Wait, same first and last name?
Exactly the same, spelled differently.
Okay.
I should have. At that point, I was like, he's like,
but I guess they assume that somebody might have like a variation, or maybe their name is spelled different on a different document. Because sometimes that happens. There's some people that have like on their birth certificate it's spelled one way, and then on their whatever.
It's like not okay. You have my passport, right? So it's not the same date of birth. It's not the same spelling, but it's a Muhammad with the same last name. Yeah. And
what are the odds?
Yeah, he's like, "You sure you don't live in blah, 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 Etobicoke?" I'm like, "No, dude.
Bro, like I know where I live.
Yeah,
I know where my house is. Yeah, leave me alone."
He's like, "Are you 6'3"? I'm like, "Bro, come on, man." So they're looking for a guy who committed some crime and has the same name as me while spelled differently, a different age, different birth dates, and different height. And they're like, it's probably this guy. Yeah. Anyway, we just got let go and they didn't care about the bananas.
So it had nothing to do with the bananas. But for a second, you kind of thought it was, though, right?
I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to have to pay a $5,000 fine for bringing a goddamn banana.
No, I think they just like confiscated it.
Yeah, probably.
Whatever, right?
But you're freaking out in that moment. Like, why did I have to go through customs 3 times, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of crazy. Yeah. All I know is security, Air Canada stole my battery pack because...
For the camera?
No, it was like one of those portable batteries. Yeah, charge cell phones and stuff like that. So it was funny because we had flown from Toronto to Calgary. This was like months ago. And when I didn't realize that I had put it in my checked luggage, which apparently you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to have all your batteries on you, which I always do. They're always in my on my bag, on my person. But when I was in Calgary, I'm like looking through my luggage and I couldn't find it. Right. So I'm like, okay, I must have forgotten it at home. Yeah. But apparently I didn't, because when I flew back, I opened my luggage and there's a piece of paper in there. And I'm like, what's this paper all about? Oh, that's
so weird.
Yeah. So Air Canada actually unlocked my luggage because they have a master key for those locks.
Yes.
So any of you...
The TSA locks.
Yes. So any of you who think those locks are actually securing your luggage, you're just lying to yourself, because they have like a master lock.
Well, you're supposed to buy TSA specific locks so that TSA can open them and put them back on. Right. So if you have a lock that's not TSA, which is I don't know what the term is, but it's the airport security essentially. If you have a lock that's not that, it's just a regular key, they'll just cut it off and leave it off.
Right. Which makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, so when I open my luggage, there's like this piece of paper from Air Canada, and it says power bank. If you want it, you got to pick it up at Calgary Airport by such and such date. And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, man, I should just send my friend Habib over, or maybe Shad or something to come down. I'm like, what am I gonna waste anybody's time over like a $30 power bank? Like, screw it, just keep it, man. Figure out what it. The thing was old anyway, so it didn't really
Probably
matter.
From the Pokemon Go days from 2016.
No, I didn't even have it back then, but it's just I've had it for a few years. But it wasn't like these new phones, they keep changing all the technology, so I'm finding like the old power banks don't charge these very fast, right? Like you got to get like an actual proper one that's going to do it quickly enough. But
so the reason you're not supposed to have those in the,
because they can catch fire.
Yeah, it's the pressure difference, because they're in the cabin, or not in the cabin, and whereas they want all those battery things to be in the cabin where the pressure is. What's the word? Regulated?
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, it was unfortunate because I didn't realize that the battery pack was even in there at all, because I thought it was at home, right? I thought I forgot. I didn't even realize I had brought it with me, that it was in that luggage apparently the entire time, or I must have taken it out and put it in there and then just not thought about it and whatever. But it's just a battery pack. But so as long as your trip was fun. I went to Florida not once but twice. Yeah, so the first trip, what did we do first? So I met up with my friend Chad. We went to Greystone Manor, which is like just outside of Buffalo. That place is really cool. And then we went to Wildwood Sanitarium, also really cool. And then from there, I went to Connecticut. Chad was a little bit busy, so I was just kind of like hanging around for the most part. And then like 2 days later, we ended up going like towards Virginia, Maryland area. We ended up doing like a haunted cabin. Then from there, the vacation commenced. We got to South Carolina, where we got the tail end of basically summer weather. It was extremely humid.
Were you by the water in South
We were
Carolina?
very close, yeah. So I rented this condo that was like not directly on the water. It was like a board, like you were on the water, but you had to like walk through this long boardwalk marsh area to get to the beach. But the water was super warm, and it was just like, it was nice. I really liked it. I love South Carolina. Might go back soon because apparently my friend wants me to go to Charleston for something. And then after that, we went down to Florida, basically just vacationed, did beach, rented a Airbnb for like 5 days, had our own pool sort of thing, just relaxed. The first night was crap though, because the AC was broken.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it was 87 degrees Fahrenheit in the house.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is like what, 36 degrees Celsius inside the house. Yeah, so we got there and I opened the door. I'm like, why is it hotter in here than outside? And it's Florida. Florida is hot and sticky, right? Very humid.
Yeah.
To begin with. So I walked in. I'm like, why is the AC off? Like, why would you leave the AC off when you know you have guests coming?
That's terrible.
Yeah. So I'm like fiddling around with a thermostat and whatever. And nothing. It's just not kicking on. It says cool on, but it's not doing anything, right? I'm checking outside. The thing's spinning, but it's just, it's not pumping any cold air. So I called the owners and I'm like, yo, we got some issues with this AC. And they're like, oh, okay, I'll call you right back. So they called me back. They're like, not to worry, Chase is on his way. So here's Chad and I thinking, okay, they're sending the AC guy, Chase, and he's going to come and fix this thing right away tonight. And so this guy comes, it's like older gentleman. He has paint all over his pants. And he walks up to the thermostat and he's just like this. And he's just like, okay. He's looking at the thermostat, playing around with it, going like this for like literally half an hour. I'm like, yo, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, I think the thermostat's busted, right? And I'm like, I don't know, something's busted, obviously, right? He's like calling his son on FaceTime and he's like turning it and he's going like, can you see? Can you see? And his son's like,
Zoom
no,
out.
I can't see. You got to flip the camera. He's like, I don't know how to change the camera on this thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh crap. So yeah, that was a problem. Couldn't fix that. And then he's like, oh, we'll get somebody out here as early as tomorrow morning. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die. So yeah, it was basically, the goal was we chilled out in the pool like the entire night, probably until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Damn.
And just got as drunk as we possibly could. So that way falling asleep was not an issue. Funny thing happened though. Chase tells us, oh, just open some windows or something. So, okay, no problem. So I go into the main bedroom and I was fiddling with the blinds, couldn't figure out how to work them. So I'm just like, screw it, whatever. I reached behind, hit the pin things and then opened the window. So I had it wide open. The next day, dude comes, fixes the AC. Finally, the house starts cooling down. That night, I walk into the bedroom and I had the window was still open. So I walked into the bedroom and there's this white thing on the wall above the bed. I'm like, what is that? It was a frog.
Oh man,
like, how did
white frog?
Yeah, it looked like a white frog. I don't know why it was white. And I didn't realize why it was in there until I thought about it. I left the window open. Yeah. Problem was that none of the windows on this house had screens.
I was just thinking
so all the outside is coming inside, right? I'm like, yo, there could be like snakes,
anything, yeah.
Right? There could be an alligator in this house at this point. We don't know because those things can climb.
Damn.
Right?
Dude, second floor?
No, it was a bungalow. A lot of the houses in Florida are just bungalows. Right. So yeah, so now there's a white frog. So I went, grabbed like this white cup or whatever, put it over, and then he's like spinning on the inside. It was hilarious. I put like a piece of cardboard underneath, got him, opened the back door, put him outside. That's nice. Now I come back in. Now there's a giant like bug, probably about this big. It looked like a cockroach. I don't know if it was like some type of weird Floridian beetle or something, and had to catch that too. Caught him. He's doing the same thing, spinning around in the glass. Oh my God. Put him outside. I'm like, okay, is there anything else in here? I'm like searching around. I didn't see anything. There could have been something like a snake hiding somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I went and closed all the windows and everything was fine after that. And then we drove basically all the way to Connecticut, where Chad lives. For some reason, people think Chad lives in Canada, but he does not. He lives pretty far from me. But yeah, so I dropped him off, and then from there, I started making my way towards Pittsburgh to meet up. I was staying with Brent for a few days, just to hang out, whatever.
That's nice.
And yeah, then we got the tragic news that Brother Frank passed away, which was pretty crazy and devastating. I don't know if you're familiar with the story at all, but
only what you, little details that you told us.
Yeah, so I don't know. I might have texted you guys a couple of things, but basically what had happened was Mo was coming into the States and he was supposed to meet up with Frank. Frank had basically disappeared at this point, and Mo's messaging me. He's like, "Have you spoken to Brother Frank at all lately?" And I'm like, I did before leaving. Like I messaged Chad, who messaged Frank, to see if we can like book a location or whatever, right? That didn't end up working out, but he was responding to Chad, but that was like before September or whatever. So at this point now it's like September 10th or something like that. And Mo's actively looking for Frank, can't seem to get a hold of him. Problem was that none of us knew exactly where he lived. Like we didn't know his home address. I just knew roughly which area. And we obviously knew it was New York State. So Mo's continuing to look. We're all calling Frank. We're all texting Frank. Well, Chad was texting and calling because I figured there was no reason we were together. There was no reason for both of us to be calling or texting. So I would just like ask Chad like every couple hours, anything from Frank. Because now we're like actually getting worried because it's very unusual that Frank would not answer a text or a phone call or whatever, right? He was always very active at responding to people. So basically, by the time I got to Pittsburgh, one night Mo messages me and he's like, "Yo, Tiffany did some detective work." Tiffany is Omar Gosh's fiance. And she somehow located his home address. So we're like, okay, we know where he lives. Mo's like, "I'm calling the local police department now." And he did that. Called them and was like, "Hey, we're kind of worried. Our friend Frank Ambrosio, he's been kind of missing. Like we're all looking for him. We have no idea where he is, and we're kind of worried because it's very unusual. Here's the address. Can you go and do like a wellness check?" So they're like, "All right, we'll go." 10 minutes later, the police call and they say, "I've got some bad news. We went in and we found him on the floor. And he most likely has been there for like at least 3 days, 2-3 days, something like that." So now there's a little bit of like kind of drama, I guess. I mean, there was already kind of drama in his family, apparently. Like we found this out later that he was good with one sister and not the other. Probably some drama after his mom passed away. And from what I know is because they did a private funeral. So nobody was invited, just the family. If they even did like a little viewing or whatever, I have no idea. And they had him cremated, and apparently his remains are still sitting on a shelf in the funeral home, like a month and a half later. Like that's messed up. But yeah, then some weird stuff started to happen. So Brother Frank was always very into paranormal stuff. He liked to do investigations. That's how you met him. That's how I met him and got to know him. Like I met him for the very first time was at Penhurst Asylum. He was actually the one who introduced me to Chad. Now Chad and I are good friends. Eventually I introduced him to Mo and Omar. I think Jazz had already met him somewhere down the line. But yeah, we all met up and he loved those guys, right? Like it was fun watching him meet his heroes. That's essentially so cool. Right? Like him meeting Mo and Omar, and then him and Mo became very, very good friends, and he would constantly talk to Mo, and he was kind of telling him he was having like some medical issues. So we don't know if that's how he died. We're like, nobody knows. We have no idea because I don't think they even did an autopsy. But anyways, yeah, it was fun watching him kind of like meet those guys and whatever. So something weird happened while I was in Pittsburgh. I had almost an entire video finished, and I decided to go and finish the video. And that's when I kind of like brought up that he had passed away, and I kind of included it as like sort of like a, what would you call it? Like a memorial, like an homage or whatever in the video. And I downloaded a bunch of clips that were all video. Well, I downloaded a bunch of videos from my channel because I don't keep all the content with me. They're all like different hard drives that I leave at home. So I went back into my studio, started downloading all the videos that I had filmed with Frank. So I can grab a bunch of the clips and then kind of put them all into this one little thing for him. So I finished editing the video and I put this whole thing together, and it was hard to do, like, cause I'm like literally like having a mental breakdown in front of Brent after I'm like editing and then playing back the video. Cause it's like your friend just passed away, you just found out, and it's hard to watch. Right. So I edited the whole video, and I was about to go and check over it, like about to render it, export it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
All the clips from Frank deleted.
Oh,
Completely.
Man.
Isn't that weird? So what I did was on my hard drive, because I number my things in order, right? So if you were to go through my hard drive, it would be like 1 Penhurst Asylum, 2 Conjuring House, 3, and it's like based on the location of the film. So I know what it is, right? And I know which order to go in. So I had a folder and I called it Frank. That's all it was. It was just Frank. So that one folder had like 3 or 4 long videos, all of him.
Right.
That whole folder completely deleted itself for no known reason whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? I've never had that happen before. It's never happened with the hard drive. I never had an issue with the editing software. It's never done that. That was the very first time that I've ever seen anything like that happen. So I don't know what that was all about. I don't know if it was just like a computer malfunction or he was just kind of sending a message. And then I started talking to Mo. I'm like, yo, I'm getting like these weird things are happening, right? Like I told him, I'm like, all the footage deleted itself. I don't know how. It's never happened before. Very, very strange. He's like, yo, I've been having weird things happen too. He's like, I was editing a video last night. And so his editing area is in the basement. He's got like this big studio room that he set up. So he's down there editing. He's like, I kept looking over my shoulder and I can see this like black figure moving outside the doorway, back and forth, back and forth. And then at some point he's just like, screw this, I'm going to bed. And he just closes his computer, goes to bed and finishes the video tomorrow. Cause he was like kind of freaked out. He's like seeing something moving around, right? He doesn't know what the hell it is. Then another weird thing happened. So as I'm in Pittsburgh, there was a cigar lounge. I think it's called Just the Tip Cigars. If you look it up, I believe it's in South Park, Pennsylvania, which is just on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. Okay. Really, really cool place. So shout out if you happen to smoke cigars, go and check them out. Anyways, so I'm there and I'm sitting on the couch because it's a lounge. So everybody smokes cigars inside, has a drink. It's a cool vibe, cool environment. And the owner was amazing. Like he's super knowledgeable. His prices were really, really good, and he was just very friendly, it was just an enjoyable experience. So that's why I want to give him a little shout out. So I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm talking with this other guy. His name was Dave. I had just met him the day before, and we were talking, and he's like, yeah, we started getting onto the talk, because I told him, like, yeah, I do YouTube, whatever, I go to haunted places. He's like, oh yeah, I really believe that stuff, and I think I'm a medium, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, there's been this weird thing happening. My friend just recently passed away, and it's almost been like either he's sending me signals or messages or whatever it might be, and just kind of strange stuff starts happening. So I'm like, whatever, we stopped. I'm like looking at my phone. All of a sudden, the owner, his name is Sam, he's talking to another customer who had walked in. He's cashing him out. And he's like, thanks for coming by, Frank. And the guy goes, my name's not Frank, my name's Joe. So Sam, the owner, goes, oh, that's really weird. You're the third person today that I have mistakenly called Frank. He's like, why would I do that? I have no reason to do that.
That's so
right. Weird. Isn't that weird? Yeah. And then I look at Dave and I'm like, my friend's name was Frank. I'm like, is that not weird that he just did that?
That's so crazy.
The third time in one day? Like that's batshit crazy.
That's wild.
Right?
He's sending you a message.
Right. Yeah. So that was that. I think there was like a couple other things that probably happened, but like just kind of weird things. But yeah, I don't know. It was just very, very strange. It was kind of like he's obviously communicating with us somehow.
Right.
Or not somehow, well, from the afterlife, obviously, right? Sending us messages apparently at cigar shops and deleting all the footage off my hard drive. Thanks, Frank. He made me have to go and download them all over again. And it didn't do it the second time. That's the thing. It was literally just the one time, and then that was it.
He just wanted to make sure you were committed.
I guess so. Yeah. He's like, let's see how hard this guy really wants to work to make this thing tonight. Right. So, yeah. And then something else weird. This is more recent. So I went back down to Florida a second time. I actually went for the Timcast event, which was really cool. Got to meet a whole bunch of people there. Met, I don't know if you know who Viva Fry is.
I don't know. The name sounds familiar. No.
So he's a relatively big content creator on YouTube, former lawyer, big hair, glasses, big personality. He's from Montreal. He was actually on the ground, live streaming as the Freedom Convoy was going on. I think that's where he kind of became more or less pretty well known, and he was an avid, supporter of that whole thing. So he was at the event, which was cool because it was nice to meet him there, and all that. And then we also had like Patrick Bet-David was there, James O'Keefe, Luke Rukowski, obviously, Tim Pool, obviously, and a bunch of other people. Phil Labonte, because he's part of their crew. So that was a fun event. Got to go down to Miami. Let me tell you, Miami, total scam. Everything there is so expensive. One beer was $19 US. For a Presidente beer, which is from Dominican Republic, which in Dominican Republic costs probably 50 cents retail. Ooh. Yeah. So that was a total scam. But Miami's nice, though. All of Florida generally is nice, except for Jacksonville, from what I hear. Everybody tells me that I've never been, but everybody says the same thing. They're like, Jacksonville sucks. It's a rough area. It's not very good. If you're on the outskirts, it's fine, but whatever. So, yeah, I ended up coming back. Earlier on that trip, my grandmother passed away. Obviously, you came by the funeral, which appreciate both of you guys coming by. Yeah. And so she literally, I think it was the day after I left that she had passed away.
Right.
And it was weird. So I'm like, everything always seems to happen in threes. Like, who else is going to pass away? 2 days later, Ben's grandmother passes away. Ben is friends. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's friends with Jazz. He works for Jazz, actually. He's his cameraman. Basically, partner in crime, if you will. It was weird because he was, when it happened, like when my grandmother passed away, we had gotten to a location. Ben and Jazz got there, and he's like, it is kind of nice that, like, at least, it was expected. Like, you had time to kind of, kind of come to terms with it. Yeah. Right. He's like, it sucks when it's like so all of a sudden.
Right.
And then 2 days later, Ben's grandmother passes away all of a sudden. God. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And then I think Mo had like a cousin or something that passed away as well. So it was like all these people just consecutively. It was wild. But something interesting happened at the Fantasma Con. So I met another creator, and basically she didn't know who I was. I knew who she was, but she didn't really know who I was. And I don't really want to name names because I know that she told me that she doesn't really tell people that she's psychic medium or empath or whatever in her videos for whatever reason. I didn't really get into
her, but not as a medium. You just knew her as a YouTuber that did haunted stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically she comes up, like, we're talking, right? We had just met each other the night before at the VIP thing, and the next day we were just kind of walking and talking because I was like heading back to my bum. I just walk with, because we were in conversation. I'm like, just come with me. We'll go see Omar or whatever, because I think she had just gotten there, and she goes, "You have somebody following you." Oof. And I'm like, "Who?" And she goes, "Your grandmother." Oh. I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, you have, your grandmother is like literally walking behind you, right? Like you have a cord or whatever she described. Like there's a connection, like a tether, if you will."
Had you told her already that you were grandma? That's amazing.
No, she never. Wow. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know any details about that, let alone explaining that my grandmother had just passed away about a month ago, right? So it's like, what are the odds? Like, that's crazy. And then she's like, kind of describes, she's like, yeah, she's very happy, and she's like laughing a lot. She's very giggly. I'm like, yeah, that was her. She would, like, the awkward laugh, right? Somebody would say something to her. Even you could be arguing with her and she would literally be like doing that awkward giggle, right? But yeah, I just thought that was freaking crazy, man. So yeah, I had never really like experienced stuff like that. Like, I know I have a huge family, so I've had a lot of family members, some friends that have passed away. Yeah. I think those two things were like, now that I'm kind of more involved in like the paranormal, it's just weird how it's been like more and more active. Like I've never even spoken about any of this happening before publicly. This is the very first time talking about what's happened with Frank, like, you know, the signals that he's been kind of sending, and then with my grandmother as well. So I don't know, I just thought it was pretty fascinating. And then she did it again to somebody else, and she was right.
Dang.
Yeah, about like their cousin or something. Yeah, I think she did it to like Seth or something like that. But yeah, so
Wow. What do you think our guest thinks about it?
I don't know. What do you think? Can you imagine that thing just like fell over or just like lunged forward?
I'm gonna freak, man. If that thing moves a millimeter, I'm gonna freak.
Oh my god!
To all of you Americans, a millimeter is like a 1/12 of an inch.
Oh yeah, because they go by inches and
Yeah,
feet
yeah.
and stuff, right? Yeah. So yeah, I've been kind of like learning more and more by talking to a lot of other people about stuff like this. That's why I kind of like sent a photo of her earlier to Lay, and yeah, she kind of confirmed that there's something going on with this thing.
Dang.
I mean, you gotta figure she's 100 years old. She came from another continent, right? from England. Do you have an
1920s.
English? Do you have an English accent? No, guess not. Hey, maybe the audio will pick something up.
That's
You never
right.
know.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know. But yeah, there was actually another thing that I had written this down. So I was recently watching. Do you know who Sam and Colby are?
I've heard people talk about them. I haven't watched myself. So the YouTubers.
Yeah, so they're probably the most popular in the paranormal field on YouTube. Okay. And they did this crazy thing at the Conjuring house. And it was nuts. So they had this couple. Their names were Sartori and Cody. I wrote that wrong. Sartori and Kobe. No, it was Cody. A lot of people are going to know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't seen, it was the very first part of their new week at the Conjuring house. So basically what they were doing was their whole idea was once they get to 10 million subscribers, they're going to stay for one full week at the Conjuring house, obviously within certain limits and rules. So the very first episode, there is this couple that they're showing who discovered a method for contacting the spirits, not only at the Conjuring house, but it also works in other places. Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody else is actually capable of doing this. Apparently, they figured it out by accident. So it's like this weird thing where they kind of hold each other's wrists and they start asking questions, and it's sort of like a connection. And then, so they did it, and then all of a sudden you start hearing all these weird noises coming throughout the house. Freaking wild. Also, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the video, you might want to fast forward this part of the podcast. But yeah, so they kind of do this tethering thing with their wrists, and all of a sudden they start hearing all these weird noises, and they're like, oh, they're here. It's weird too, because you can hear like as if somebody's coming up the stairs or down the stairs or walking on the floors towards them, literally right in front of them. Then what they start doing is they start asking questions. And every time they ask a question, they'll hear for yes or for like no, or like if it's like extremely no or whatever, something like that. Then they'll start asking questions using the alphabet. So they'll start saying, what is your name? A, B, C, and you'll hear a knock, and that's the letter that they're picking. Okay, C, yes. Then they'll start saying A, B, C, D, and then they'll pick another letter. You'll hear a knock or whatever, and you can confirm. And they were basically spelling out whole people's names, and they were relatives of both Sam and Colby, which this was like super emotional because one of them was apparently Sam's grandmother, I believe. One of his, and he's like all crying and whatnot. So there was like at least like 5 or 6. I've never seen anything like this. Like just for it to be like that direct, where they're literally going through the alphabet and you're just getting freaking knocks to confirm yes or no. Absolutely wild.
Are you gonna try it?
I kind of want to, yeah. So I kind of said to Jazz, I'm like, yo, we should try this on our next video as like an experiment. I want to see maybe if we can do it. Like I guess if we have enough connection, then maybe it'll actually work. It's gonna look pretty gay, but it'll be pretty funny at the same time. So I don't know. It was and then they tried to, like, Sam and Colby's whole thing was trying to debunk it, like, yo, did they have something in their shoes? Is there something making noise in the basement? So what they did was they were going around and doing it in different random spots, one of them just being a random public park, and they were getting the same result. Ooh. Right? They bought them shoes, so they knew there was nothing in their shoes that could have possibly been doing it, but it was just somehow they were capable of doing it, which was pretty nuts. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before, so that's kind of new. And then now I think Josh is going to have the same couple in his upcoming video or series or whatever that I saw, so looks interesting.
Have you met these was it Sam and Colby?
Sam and Colby? No. The only ones that I know, I haven't met them personally, but I know Mo did some videos with them a long time ago, and I think Omar did as well.
Are they like just too big? They're just out of reach for your group of friends, or does anybody
really
know them?
No. That means that some people still talk to them, but like everybody's kind of like doing their own thing.
Of course, so I'm just mean like they weren't at this Fantasma Con and whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if they were invited or not, or maybe they were doing some. I have no idea, man. Yeah. I got no idea. I don't really care for that stuff, but like there were other big YouTubers.
You could have done it with them, right? You know what I mean? Like
that I could have done. Yeah. Done what?
The same thing that
the experiment.
Cody Clap. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Cody Clap, is that what we're calling it? The Cody Clap.
Sartori and Cody Clap.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm like
you
I said,
I've
never.
Maybe with our guest.
I don't know if this is gonna work. That would be kind of crazy though. But yeah, all of a sudden just hearing knocks all over the walls and stuff around
God,
here.
Can't wait till I leave.
Yeah. Too scary. Oh my God, yeah. But apart from that, that was that. I know you've been kind of busy playing the new Spider-Man game. How's that been?
It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on PlayStation 5, the new Spider-Man 2 game came out October 20th. I was very excited. I was waiting for a long time. Yeah, the first one came out on the PlayStation 4 in 2018, and it quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. So, of course I'm a large nerd, as well as just a person that likes, Marvel comics, DC stuff like that. And this game was actually just amazing, the Spider-Man game. And so we've been waiting a long time. It got announced, I think, a year ago or something, and it announced that Venom would be the big bad in this game, which is very exciting. And it came out and took all my time. And it was such a good game. And spoilers were starting to come out online, and so I was like, no.
Don't do it.
No,
that's when you just got to turn off social media altogether.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, okay, how am I going to avoid if I wanted to play the weekend it came out, but I was doing the first YouTube video that I did in like 10 years. I was doing it because at the same time I had to do a video about Spider-Man. So, timing, Oh
yeah, because you did it with like the custom controller.
I did a Spider-Man controller, customized it. So anyway, the weekend passed, and then I finished the video, and okay, now I'm going to start playing the game, and all I had was the evenings and after work, and I just wanted to finish it, stay offline, just finish it as soon as possible so I didn't get it ruined for me, and so I played it for about a whole week, and I finished it. It was very good, and I can't wait for more, but I may have to wait 5 years for more.
So is it so did you finish it?
I finished the story.
Okay.
I did not 100% the game. So I'm about, essentially, if we're talking like the amount of time spent, I'm about halfway. But I finished the actual main story of the game.
So how many hours so far?
Ish. I probably put in 20 to 25 hours.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
That was like my old Grand Theft Auto days. I would just sit there for hours. And the funniest thing that I used to do when I had San Andreas, because that was like the best one.
Big game.
So at some point, I had bought like this steering wheel with like the pedals and whatever, and I figured out how to calibrate it with Grand Theft Auto. So I would because it was annoying because you couldn't walk the character around with the thing because you needed the little joysticks or whatever, right? Which the steering wheel didn't have. So I'd have to use the controller and then get into a car and then plug in the steering wheel and then like calibrate it on the steering wheel by doing all these things, because you have to calibrate like the gas for the
one of the buttons.
X button or whatever it was, right? So And then I would literally just sit there and just drive around like through the mountains in San Andreas for like 6 hours. Before you know it, it's 2:00 in the morning. You're like, damn, I gotta go to school tomorrow. Crap.
Good times.
I think I need to stay home. I feel a little tickle in my throat. So
good times. Video games.
Yeah, I haven't really played video games in a long time. I just don't have the time. Yeah, I barely even have time to really like watch other people's content and stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah, man. Life was good for that week.
Yeah.
In the house, anyway. Outside of it, though, a little different.
Oh my god! Yeah, because then all of a sudden WWE started.
That's not WWF. Let me tell you.
No,
not WWE.
No, not entertaining at all. There's so much crap going on, and it's crazy too because information nowadays I find changes so quickly. Who the hell is yelling?
Someone's yelling. Ever since we got in today, like one of the neighbors is. So we're in a. Office building essentially, and one of the neighbors is making quite a lot of noise. Couldn't tell if they're having a good time or a bad time.
I have no idea because I can only like subtly hear it through my headphones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the world has gone a little crazy. Some people did some things, and we'll probably talk about that maybe another day on a whole other episode.
Right.
But yeah, things are crazy. There was a video that I saw. Apparently this is an older video, but it's pretty wild. Let me see if I can open it up here. I don't know if you saw this, but hang on. This. I don't know if you saw
I saw the
this.
preview. I didn't watch it yet.
So these people went and stole a bunch of candy. They were literally there with their family. This is caught, I guess, on like a Ring camera or something.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
The honor system failed.
Yeah, good point.
So essentially, like, you don't want to be there standing, handing out 1-2 little candy bars to kids. So you put out a basket of candy, and, you know, you expect people to be respectful and honorable and take 1 or 2, or maybe if you're walking around with your kids, you'll teach them, like, let's be fair to everybody. Let's take a couple and leave for the rest of the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't happen in that video.
Nope. I mean, I imagine, like, it depends. I guess it would depend where you are. If you were in like a small town somewhere where maybe everybody knew each other. I mean, this could be a small town. I have no idea. Awesome. I don't really know like the context of it. Yeah. I do know that there's another video of a Good Samaritan. It kind of goes along with this. So kind of like you watch the first one, you're like, people suck. And then you see him trying to open up this. Then you see the MVP neighbor over here. He literally walks up to it and refills it after seeing what happened. Isn't that crazy? Nice. At least that's what they said anyways. So that's the context here. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah.
That's
so
proper.
I mean, it gives us a little bit of hope for humanity. I mean, we got WWE 3 starting. We got freaking people stealing candy, teaching their kids to do the same thing. So I don't know.
What a horrible thing.
I know. I can't understand. Just be good people, man.
Yeah.
Right? You want good things in the world.
You gotta put good things out into the world.
Exactly. You gotta be the first one to do it.
Yeah.
And there's 2 other stories.
I don't like the way this one starts.
Yeah, it's not like a video or anything. It's like an actual story.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for it to load because our internet here is poopy. There we go. So it says, this is from Morbid Knowledge at Morbidful on Twitter or X. In 2011, during the shift on March 11th, Lululemon employees Jana Murray and Brittany Norwood conducted routine bag checks on each other. Murray discovered a pair of leggings that Norwood was trying to shoplift and confiscated them. Shortly after leaving the store, Norwood phoned Murray, claiming that she had left her wallet behind and needed Murray to allow her back in. Tragically, Norwood then violently stabbed and bludgeoned her to death. In the store's rear corridor, Norwood assaulted Murray using 5 different weapons: a hammer, a knife, a merchandise peg, and a box cutter, inflicting 331 distinct wounds during a 16-minute long assault. She then staged the scene to look like a robbery, putting on a pair of men's shoes to track blood across the floor, tossing mops, a broom, and chairs around the store, and finally cutting herself and binding her own wrists and ankles with zip ties. Following the murder, the coroner discovered that Murray suffered a crushed skull and a stab wound in the back of her neck so deep that it severed her spinal cord and went all the way to her brain. In January 2012, Norwood was sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Isn't that nuts?
How did you come across this?
I don't know. Things just get recommended to me on X sometimes. It just popped up and I started reading it. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely pretty morbid, right? I'm like, damn.
Sad.
Was it 331, I think they said? Is that what it was? 331 distinct wounds during a 16-minute long assault. You have to... How insane would you have to be to literally just keep doing that to somebody? Like, you know, they're probably dead after the first, like, 50. Like, and you kept going for a long time. Like, that's insane, man.
That's crazy. That's so sad.
That's nuts. I think there was one more that I had.
Essentially, she was about to steal, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this chick before she can bait out my scene.
But, like, I get it.
It doesn't make sense.
No,
believe me.
It doesn't make
2011,
any sense.
they have cameras. 2011, they have cameras.
Right.
There's no hiding what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, essentially, you're a person that's going to do that. You're a person that's not really thinking the whole thing through.
I don't know, man. Yeah. It's nuts.
You know what I watched last night, though? Something... one of those, you ever seen those YouTube videos where it's some expert is answering questions on Twitter and they're doing a YouTube video? I don't know if it's BuzzFeed or whatever it is, but it was like a crime scene expert of some sort.
Okay.
And someone was saying,
like, doing kind of like a breakdown of the event.
Sure, kind of. So people would I don't know. It's a large company that does the YouTube channel, and send in your questions for this kind of expert. So like Bill Nye is one of those experts, or this person was some type of CSI or something. And one of the questions was, do most murders go unsolved? And she said in the U.S., United States of America, 50% of murders do go unsolved. So I was just saying, like, you know, it's kind of obvious you're not going to get away with that, but
right.
Essentially it's 50-50
statistically. That doesn't mean go out and do anything.
Do not do
right?
that.
I guess it depends where you are, and there's so many factors, right?
Yes.
So I guess it depends on how well of a crime scene you're capable of setting up or making it look like, right? But
don't even think about it. Don't try.
No, that's crazy. We got one more. This one's like really short, but I thought this was super interesting. So in 2014, a Roman road and 3 human skeletons were found under a McDonald's in Fratocci, Italy. The 3 bodies are believed to have been buried in the 3rd century. Wow. At the restaurant, diners can look through a transparent panel in the floor to view the ancient road or venture down there themselves.
Venture down there themselves.
Cool? But like, just think about that. So, there's more photos here too. Look at this.
Damn,
that's so cool. Dude. So you can get a cheeseburger and go see some dead bodies, right? Like, that's amazing. And they're just there out in the open. Dang. It looks like.
Oh, it's not even covered.
Yeah, it's not covered at all.
Wow.
Maybe that was like before, because I imagine. Wow.
Interesting.
Dang.
That's really neat.
That is really neat. Oh, there's more here too. More info.
So,
that's just like an article or something.
When are we going to Fratocci?
Whenever.
Wait, let's go. Oh no!
Let's go right now.
Go back to the comment. It's like still waiting for the McFlurry sheen to be repaired. Wow.
There was one. I think it was like a meme or something. There was the one that somebody comes up to the drive-thru and they're like, "Is your ice cream? Or is your sundae machine working?" They're like, "Hang on, let me check." And then in the background, all you hear is bing, 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 bing. Just all this metal clanking. She comes back. "No, sorry, it's not working." Oh my god, so funny. But yeah. Some of the stuff you see on the internet, man. I gotta go through that page a little bit further because they had some like really interesting stuff.
Morbidful?
Huh?
I just followed it. Morbidful,
yeah. Yep.
I do follow one that's on Instagram though.
Kinda like
Morbid
that.
something or other. Yeah,
It's probably the same organization.
It's maybe
Or
it's
people
a lot
or
of
person.
like right. It's a lot of stuff that you don't want to see.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of good information too. Like there's a picture here of Anne Frank and sister, blah blah blah, 1940, 1945. Wow, lots of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the Anne Frank story is fascinating. I don't know if you ever
know much of it.
No?
No.
You can always just watch a couple of the movies. There's a couple of like really good movies about it. So basically she was a Jew in, was it Poland? I don't remember if she lived in Germany or Poland. It was I think it might have been Poland, but basically her whole family had been they were, because obviously we know what happened in Germany and Poland during World War II, the Holocaust. Basically, they were coming to find their family and obviously, take them away, throw them in the ghetto, whatever. They ended up getting a little bit of help. I believe it was from like a neighbor or something. And they ended up going into what you would call like an annex, which is like a separate part of someone's house. And they were all basically hiding in there. There was like 2 families, I believe, that were living there. And while she was living there, the reason why she's so famous is because she was actually writing a diary as she was living in this annex because they couldn't leave, right? So they were there for, I don't remember the exact time frame. Could have been like 30, 40 days or something like that. And at this time, she was a teenager. She was growing up. She's experiencing new things, what it was like to be a teenager. And the other family that was there had a teenage boy. I think who was a little bit older.
She was there for 2 years. I'm just reading it now.
2 years? Oh, wow.
Okay.
That was definitely a lot longer than I thought. And then eventually the family was discovered, and I believe she was sent to, I think it was Auschwitz.
I read some other name, Bergen-Bunnen or something like that.
Which one? Birkenau?
Anne Frank.
I'm not sure which.
Concentration camp. What camp was she in? Bergen-Belsen.
Bergen-Belsen.
Bergen.
Where was that? Hang on. Up here too, because now I'm just curious. So there's also a newer movie that's, oh yeah, here it is. That is Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Yeah, well. So she was born in Frankfurt. Language, Dutch and German. Occupation, diarist. I love how that's like
Diarist.
an occupation. Diarist. No offense to Anne Frank, but that's pretty funny. Just like the terminology itself.
Bergen-Belsen in Lower Saxony in northern Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But yeah, the story itself is crazy. There's another movie that I remember. I don't remember what it was called. It was something like Anne Frank's Friend or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So the whole movie basically plays from the perspective of her friend, who was also put in a concentration camp, but her friend survived. So in the movie, the friend was on the other side of the wall of the concentration camp. So she one day actually communicated with Anne Frank, who was on the other side of the wall. And I think they were like throwing food back and forth or something along those lines. And like a lot of those movies, like if you've seen Schindler's List and all that stuff, it's like, it's pretty horrifying. Like the stuff that, these people went through. I've been to Auschwitz myself, but yeah. But yeah, Anne Frank is a really, it's a fascinating story just because it's different, right? Because it's like, it's from the perspective of a teenage girl growing up during the Holocaust and whatnot. Even my grandmother lived in northern Italy as the fascistas, or Berto Mussolini was in power during World War II. I believe she would have been, she was 88 when she passed. So minus, I don't know, it was a long time ago. So she must have been like 10 or something like that, maybe a little bit older. So she remembers, I remember asking her about this because I was curious. I'm like, so you lived in Italy during World War II. Like, what was your experience like? And she would
have been about 10. Yeah.
Right. So she says, I remember the planes flying overhead, and then being scared because you weren't sure if is it the Americans or the British or whatever, and they're going to start bombing us. Then she also remembers that her uncle was an anti-fascista, which in today's terms would be called an Antifa. But he was a legit one, not one of these bullshit ones that you see nowadays with the black masks and stuff punching innocent people in the face. So he was a legit anti-fascista, and he was basically a rebel. So obviously the Italian government at the time, the fascistas, wanted to get rid of the rebels. So what they would do is they would go house to house looking for them.
How would they know? Would they know who they were? Or is it just like...
I think they had an idea of who they were looking for.
Okay.
Right? So they'd probably just take... I mean, even if you weren't the right person, why would they care? They're a bunch of fascists. What do they care? Sure. They're just going to arrest you and put a bullet in your head regardless of whether they believe you are or are not, just in case.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing that happened in Poland. Like a lot of the Polish rebels, whether you were or weren't, were thrown into gas chambers. They were actually... Polish rebels were actually the first ones who were gassed, believe it or not, during World War II. So if you go to Auschwitz, you'll see, you can actually look through the peephole of the original gas chambers, and it explains that a lot of the times what they would do is either they would gas you, or they would bring you out into the square of the concentration camp and either hang you or shoot you in front of everybody to basically, you know, as a show of strength, right? So, or show of power, I guess you could say. But yeah, the other thing my grandmother remembers is that when she was there, because her uncle was anti-fascista, when they would, because they would do it like randomly, but I think they had like a certain routine. So what they would do is they would take him and they would hide him in their apartment on the roof. And they would come door to door. They'd come knocking. They're saying, hey, we're looking for the anti-fascistas. And they would search the house, because you would have to let them search your house because, you know.
Otherwise, you look like you're holding with them.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, they think something's up, right? But the second they would try and go to the door to go up to the roof, my grandmother's mother would be like, no, the children are up there, you're gonna scare them, like, don't go up there, leave them alone. And I guess these soldiers would listen, and they would just be like, all right, fine, no problem, and they would leave. But little did they know was that my grandmother's uncle was literally hiding on the top of the roof with probably other people. And she remembers, because I think her her apartment had like a view over the town square. So she remembers seeing them like rounding people up in the middle of the square, and then just obviously shooting people if they thought you were a rebel or you were against them any way, shape, or form. Yeah, man. My grandmother had tons of like crazy stories before she came to. Did I ever tell you the story that she dated a mobster?
I think you told me part of it at least.
Part of it? Okay, so there's a crazy... I don't remember if I mentioned it on here before, but it's so interesting because I didn't know this until, I want to say last year or something like that. So, because I wanted to know, I'm like, I always thought... So the story when I was younger that I was told was that my grandmother flew to New Jersey to see a cousin and then went on a road trip to Canada. And then she stayed here ever since. Apparently that wasn't entirely correct. There was more to the story.
So from Italy to Jersey is what you thought?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So she never flew. She took a boat, a ship, and the ship went through New York City to a place called Ellis Island, which was where all the immigrants used to have to come in. It's basically right next to the Statue of Liberty. Right. It's they no longer use it. It's like an abandoned hospital on an island. It's a museum now. You can actually go and check it out. One day I'll probably go and do it just because it seems really interesting. It's like part of my family history and a lot of other people who came through that way. Yeah. So basically she takes this ship and she ends up in New York City, goes to New Jersey. Before this, for a little bit of context, she basically, I don't know how this happened. I want to say it's like the classifieds that some young Italian-American man in New Jersey was looking for a bride. Right. And I guess had put the word out back in Italy that he's looking for a bride. Nice. So my grandmother, I don't know how that happened, I guess answers this classified, we'll call it, and now ends up in New Jersey, comes through Ellis Island, ends up in New Jersey, meets this man. Little does she know, this guy's a mob boss, like a big top guy, right? Back then, these mob bosses were some people that you really didn't want to deal with. Yeah. So my grandmother didn't know this. She meets this guy, doesn't like him, doesn't want to be around him or with him for that matter. Somehow ends up talking to a police officer The police officer secretly takes her and helps her move, or helps her get to the border. And then at the border, she crosses into Canada, somehow ends up in Toronto. Thank God for this police officer who actually helped her, right? Because that's like some tough business back in the day to do that stuff. Like, you're risking your life, her life and his life, right? She ends up in Toronto, I believe on College Street, which was like basically Little Italy back in the day. And basically she stays at a boarding house, which was also like a pizzeria or whatever downstairs. Meets my grandfather, who worked at the pizzeria, and then a month later gets married because she wants to stay. So she has to marry him, get a green card, and the rest is history.
And now you're here telling the story.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's just really, really fascinating, like how, because I didn't know that up until like a year, 2 years ago, right? Wow, so sometimes story, if you guys out there still have grandparents or elderly people who are part of your family, and you're really curious to know stories, ask them. They'll tell you some like pretty wild stuff, right? Like. I mean, everybody's got like a story to tell. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people grew up like, in crazy places, right? Like we had Vonnie on, and he grew up in Iraq?
Iraq and Iran,
yeah. So he was there during like the Civil War time, and he managed to escape, and like that's a crazy story. He doesn't remember much because he was like 2, but yeah, everybody's got crazy. Mo, I know, comes from Lebanon. He grew up during the Civil War, and he remembers a lot of stuff.
Oh, we gotta have him on.
Yeah, so when he comes on, then he'll tell you all those stories about that stuff. But yeah, apart from that, I have one question to end this off. What is scarier to you than ghosts? And that's a really random question. I already know my answer, but what's your answer? What scares you more?
I don't know. I'm on the spot here. What's scarier than ghosts? What the ghosts will do to you?
No, it has to be non-ghost related. It has to be like something in the physical realm that we can see, we can touch, anything at all. What do you think? It could be like a bear, a lion eating your face or something, right?
Yeah, I feel pretty privileged to like not have to know what this is like, but like coming face to face with like a snake or something would scare the shit out of me probably. Yeah. No, I've got that Canadian privilege where I've been housed with my video games all my life, so I'm very grateful that I haven't had to stare down the barrel of a gun or anything like that. Crazy. Yeah. So my answer. Brampton drivers. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Sorry. Can I go back and change my answer? To be fair, I learned and I grew up in Brampton driving. However, I don't know. Am I a Brampton driver? I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, if you're from Brampton or if you're from the greater Toronto area, you'll get the reference as to what we mean by Brampton drivers. So the driving here is just horrendous. It's so horrible to the point where Brampton has the highest auto insurance rates in all of North America.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a statistical fact. Still,
I
know it was for a long time. I don't know if it's still correct, but like, dude, people here cannot drive. I saw an accident on the way over here.
Oh yeah.
Earlier. Yeah, it was right at the corner close to my house where there's literally always accidents. And it's funny too because they added these bike lanes. So some of the less busy roads, but they're still pretty busy roads, have been minimized into one lane. So the problem now is when people turn onto those roads. So let's say somebody's turning from the light, comes in, and then somebody's turning from the other way where they're supposed to yield and let the other guy go. Their brain automatically says just go because their brain is now processing, well, this used to be a 2-lane road, and then at the last second they're going too fast and they're like, well, screw it, whatever, I'll just keep going. And they collide. And I think that's what happened today. And I knew this was coming. It happens all the freaking time, man. People in parking lots. The one that drives me the craziest is when, let's say you're in the middle lane and you want to so you got to turn right somewhere. So now you're going to try and go into the right lane. So you signal well in advance of when douchebag in the right lane is flying and he he literally speeds up to pass you, and it's like, oh well, thanks, dick. Now I can't make the turn onto whichever road, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's horrendous.
Very selfish.
Yeah. I've never seen such horrible drivers in my life.
Yeah, I remember one time I was in college and I think we were going for lunch or something. There's a couple of friends from school, and we're driving on the 401 highway, going back to school, going to lunch, whatever it is, and getting on the highway, and he's like, "Oh, I passed the exit," and he slows down and stops in the last lane of the highway.
Oh my god!
And reverses into the shoulder.
Oh my god!
And reverses back into the damn lane and drives forward onto the ramp. And I was like, I'm sitting in the back seat and I'm like tightening my seatbelt. He's like, "What's wrong, bro?"
What's wrong, man? Were you scared? Like, it's just the shoulder, right?
Didn't want to die in class today.
No. But yeah, it's I've had so many like crazy incidences over here with drivers. There was one time I was driven off the road. That was back when I had the GMC Jimmy. So thankful I even had that car, because if I had anything else, that car would have been messed up beyond belief by hitting that curb. Right. But yeah, basically I was in the right lane, guys in my left lane, and for some reason he just starts coming in. Had nowhere else to go, so I decided I'm just gonna hop the curb, barely missed a tree, went around it, and then went back on the road. And then I followed him, and I'm like, "Hey man, what the hell was that all about?" Right? Like I'm like driving up the road, I'm like honking and I'm like pointing, and he's ignoring me. Right?
That's like, very common in drivers.
It's so common.
Yeah, they feel safe in their car. You're like, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, until I beat your ass. But yeah, I pulled up in a parking lot, and I'm just like, dude, like what the hell was that all about? It's like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, you didn't realize you drove me off the road, right? But okay, whatever. There was another time I was coming through a stoplight. When I approached the light, it was red, but the light was changing. So my light had just turned green, and I saw this minivan coming down the road, and I'm just like, this bitch ain't stopping. I'm like, oh wait. Thankfully I did, because she drove right through her red light. Right? But I read what was coming, and I thought to myself, Brampton driver, right? She's not going to stop. And even if she does, that's cool. But I'm just going to wait.
Yeah.
Right?
And I do that, and I stop early as well. If I you can see we have the pedestrian signs on the right when there's a crosswalk, and you can see it's like coming down. It's like 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna start slowing down. Yeah. I don't care if it's the one time where it goes down to 0 and the light is still green. I don't care. I'm slowing down. Yeah,
better safe than sorry, I suppose.
I've had one at a red light because the person came through when it was a yellow light, and I went straight and I hit them. And I think both of them were at...
Was that the red car?
Yeah, that was my first car.
What was it?
The Mazda MX-3.
MX-3.
That's right. Another one, you remember driving to the office, to the Primerica office?
The Honda Civic.
I had... I'll tell you who in the car after. In the Civic.
I know,
that's
I
right.
remember.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah. Purple shirt guy, right? Yeah, he always wore a purple shirt because he had no other clothes.
Yeah. And I'm driving straight in the 3. It's like a 4 lane.
He pulled it out of a gas station or something, right?
Across all the lanes. Like it was like, I'm sure it was crazy. 4 lanes to turn into opposing traffic. And I slammed right into that guy. It was like an 18-wheeler or whatever, right? Fast, and I slammed into its fuse box and it died on contact.
Good. That's karma. It's like he targeted it, right? I see the fuse box
coming.
Boom,
he was coming so fast. I didn't see him.
Yeah.
And that dude with me was like, yeah.
Yo, I hate when people do that. Yell stop.
Yeah.
Stop or brake. Stop or brake is what you yell when you're about to hit something and you're a passenger in a car. Not yo. Like, what is this? Because like somebody yelling yo, you just like you startle them, but they don't like react. If you yell stop, the driver's instinct is to put his foot on the brake. Right? At least try. Maybe. So
I guess you're not thinking in that moment either.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy one because I remember you had that car. What did you do? You bought it for $150 or something?
Yeah, something like that. It was my neighbor's car and they were gonna scrap it. And they couldn't get it started, and I went over with some throttle body cleaner, sprayed it inside the intake, and it started. I was using throttle body cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it started, and he was like, oh shit, it's worth something now.
Yeah.
And then I bought
It's
it for
now worth $500.
Yeah, I bought it for like $150 and had it for a year or two or something.
Worth it.
Yeah,
Totally
absolutely.
worth it. I remember that. Yet the car had a gas leak.
remember?
It was old. It had a musty smell to it. Your seat was on an angle like this.
And whenever it would rain, remember the wheel hop? And the dashboard would be jumping up and down. And like my cell phone, I would turn and it would like fly off the dashboard and throw almost out the window and you would catch it.
Yeah, because for some reason the dash had like that. I don't know if you guys remember the old Honda Civics, but it had like that crease kind of in it. So you'd put it like in. I think
It would look like a pocket. Like it looked like the perfect thing to hold your cell phone.
You'd think, but obviously it wasn't that effective. But and then the car would randomly die at lights, and you couldn't start it again.
You remember we were on Beauvert? I think you were with me. We were on Beauvert. It died at the light. Like we're trying to get on the highway.
It's like the busiest intersection in all of Brampton.
And then like two other guys run up and start pushing me through the intersection.
No, I remember one time you did something. You grabbed something, you moved it, and then for some reason the car just started again. But oh my god, that thing was crazy.
1990 Honda Civic, yo.
Yeah.
Honda Civic, yo.
Honda Civic, yo. But yeah, you did a bunch. It was funny too because you did a bunch of work to that car. You're like, well, this car's running pretty good.
Yeah.
I could just fix it up. And I remember you put like an intake and you're doing like all this custom like air work to try and make your Honda Civic a little bit faster. And I don't know, you were just doing like a whole bunch of like restoration on it because I guess at that point you're like, well, it runs fine, so I'll just keep it for a bit. And then you hit a fuse box in a truck and just totaled the thing. And
goddamn Brampton drivers.
Yeah. No, that was North York.
I was the Brampton driver.
Right. That makes sense. So, I mean, the truck driver might have been too. Who knows?
It's possible. I was very angry at him in that moment. I was very angry.
Oh, boy.
I got it. He's like yelling. He's like, you're driving so fast. And I'm just like, I'm going to free it. Because like,
he's telling you were driving fast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one thing that made me mad. But the other thing was I had dude in the car with me. And I was like half worried. Like something could have happened to him. Would it have been my fault? And the guy's like, he's coming up to me, the driver, he's coming up to me, like he's getting upset. And I swear to God, I was going to throw him in front of a car. You know who came up and grabbed me? Andrew from the office. He came up from behind and he grabbed me and he
wasn't with you though. He was just driving by.
Yeah, right? Just luckily he just separated me.
He's like, I know that little white car.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I got into one accident. So I went to Daniel's house to watch a soccer game. And I was leaving. I was on my way, I think, to a customer's house to drop something off. And I was at a red light waiting to make a right turn. And all of a sudden, all I hear is bang! I felt it. Like my whole body like lurched forward because on that truck, the whole bumper, if you remember, was solid metal. Well, not solid, but it was very thick metal. So when you hit the bumper of that thing, you felt the impact.
Everything.
Yeah, you felt literally everything. So that car was a mess after that. But her car wasn't even worse. But do you remember that? I showed you the picture.
I have a faint recollection.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I just never bothered to fix the car and was whatever. Drove that thing for a long time and then got rid of it.
What'd you get after the Jimmy? Was it the
Subaru? STI, yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I moved on up. Right?
What happened with the Subaru?
Well, that thing was kind of just problems from day one for multiple different reasons.
It wasn't from day one though, right? It took like a month or something for you to see it, no?
After about a month is when I started noticing there was something up with that car.
Right.
But then the real problem started shortly a little while after, and then we had found out why.
Yeah.
The original problem I remember was the clutch, right? The clutch was already kind of worn, which was kind of whatever, but still, I was like, really? You guys sell me like a $36,000 car for like with a bad clutch already right off the lot? Like that's kind of shitty, but is what it is. Oh well. How was your experience on tonight's show? Good. Glad to hear it. Very fascinating. All right, guys. I know it's a little bit shorter than usual. I think the next episode will probably be back to having guests. I think we're going to have a friend of mine cool explorer, goes to a lot of different abandoned places.
Cool.
Kind of like all over North America, really.
Nice.
So he's a cool dude. Met him one time. Yeah, that should be fun.
Great.
Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming through, spending your time with us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any words for us?
Any last words? Okay. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for joining us tonight on the Brave Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn those notifications on, and like us on social medias and stuff. We'll leave the links to everything down in the description below, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Good night.